All right, before somebody points it out, I'm going to point it out. All right, I know you can hear the AC in the background. Deal with it. It's hot. It's really hot. All right, I'm going to turn it off for you? No, 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 no. You're not that important. All right, so you're going to hear the AC in the background, and I didn't include silvers on the list for obvious reasons. Silvers are just, they don't refactor them, or they don't do anything to silvers anymore. So it's just not fair to include them on the list. Aside from that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I've missed you guys. I really have. I'll talk a little bit more towards the end about why I haven't been posting that much, but by Tuesday, everything should come back to normal, hopefully. All right, I love you guys. Let's start the video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 worst passives in Injustice 2 Mobile. I've already made a list of the best passives in Injustice 2 Mobile, so if you want to go check that one out, there's going to be a link in the description. But with that being said, let's start the video. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Warrior Queen Wonder Woman's passive 1 called Amazon Warriors. Now I feel really bad adding Amazon Wonder Woman just because I think she's a decent character, especially if you're a beginner. You know, she's got the reflective shield, which is really OP. Her special one does armor pierce. However, her passive falls short in so many different areas. I mean, when you look at it at first, it actually seems pretty decent, but not really when you go try it out for real, because basically whenever somebody dies, they get replaced by a minion. Now this would actually be okay if the minion spawned in more than once, but it doesn't. And it would also be okay if the minion had a decent amount of health and a decent amount of damage. However, it also doesn't have a decent amount of health or a decent amount of damage. So the minion is just kind of there to, I guess, get knocked out. It saves you a few seconds in the battle, I guess, if you're going to lose anyways. I was honestly thinking about maybe putting in Unbreakable Cyborg or one of the Swamp Things in at number 5. But honestly, I would rather heal up, even if it's just a little bit. I would rather have my main character, the actual character that I'm using, heal up just a little bit and just use that character for the remainder of the time, even if I'm going to lose, instead of throwing in some like really crappy version of my main character, which would be a minion that has a lot less health and a lot less damage. It just doesn't really make that much sense to me. I know some of you guys might disagree with me on that one, but I think you guys will agree with me for the rest of the list. So coming in at number 4 is going to be Firestorm. So Firestorm, like Amazon Wonder Woman, only has one passive, and his passive is called, wait for it, dot resistance. That is super creative. Good job, NetherRealm. So can you guys imagine what his passive does? That's right, it has dot resistance. It gives 50% dot resistance for a team when you promote him to level 5. Now, before the 1% of you defend Firestorm for saying that he might be a little bit useful in P3 or something like that, keep in mind, we already have John Stewart Green Lantern, and we also have artifacts that take away dot damage for us. Oh, and also, if you need another character that you really need to use in an area that has a lot of dot damage, go ahead and use Hellboy. He actually gets health from taking dot damage, and if you're worried about your damage dealer, you could just do the tag in and tag out method, and your damage dealer should be fine. So, just like Geometry, you're probably going to forget that Firestorm is even in your roster, and for the majority of people, he's pretty much useless. Moving on to number 3 is going to be Cheetah. Cheetah gives you armor piercing on all attacks after performing a special ability for a certain amount of time, and depending on which special ability you use is going to depend on how long the armor piercing lasts. Now, that's the only passive that Cheetah has, and a lot of you guys know that I really hate Cheetah. I really don't like her. I think she's a terrible character, and I think one of the worst parts about her as well is the fact that she's a challenge character. So getting shards for her isn't necessarily easy, but it also isn't hard. You just have to wait for the challenge to actually come around. And for a character like this, that's just not worth it, man. I mean, the armor piercing just doesn't last long enough for me to actually care about the passive. However, as you'll see with the number 2 and the number 1 spot, this timing is actually a big factor for me, because what's the point of adding any effects to your character through passives or through special abilities or through anything if they don't last enough time to actually use them? And this character, Cheetah, is just one of those characters, and she really gets on my nerves. However, not as much as the number 2 and the number 1 spot. One more thing I'll say about Cheetah before I move on is that I also feel like Cheetah has one of the worst character designs in the entire game. I mean, if you look, okay, look, I know we're not talking about this, but if you look at her, she looks like she's wearing garbage, dude, like literal garbage. I can make this cosplay with like $5 and maybe like 20 minutes worth of looking around in a dumpster, and it will still probably look better than what she's wearing right now. I mean, did you guys see that terrible Cats movie? No. What am I saying? Nobody watched that thing. But if you looked at the trailers, They look way better than she does, and that movie got like 1 stars or something like that. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna stop and just move on to number 2 before I go on in a rant. So let's move on. Coming in at number 2 is gonna be Enraged Bane. So basically what his passive does is that whenever he gets hit by a special ability, whether he's blocking or not blocking, he becomes unblockable for 6 seconds. Now, I actually like the idea of this passive. I think it's great. The only problem, again, just like with Cheetah, is the timing. 6 seconds of being unblockable is absolutely nothing. And also, typically once the opponent already uses a special ability on you, they're going to be vulnerable for like half a second, and everybody takes advantage of that. That's when you start building your combo. So being unblockable at that point is pretty much pointless. It's cool if they made it last for like, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds or something like that, because then you could do some sort of infinite combo. I don't know, you could work with that, but 6 seconds? Come on, man. You're barely going to have enough time to finish your combo string, and then your buff is going to be gone. Your unblockable buff is going to be gone. And keep in mind, if Bane was going to be like a support or a combo builder or something like that, which he most likely would be, even if the time on this buff lasted a little bit longer, eventually you're going to tag him out anyways, and you're going to tag in your damage dealer, and that's going to happen in the matter of like 5 seconds. So this buff just doesn't really work out that well. I think the proper way to fix this passive is actually really simple. You beef up Enraged Bane a little bit more, make him a little bit more of a damage dealer, and then you extend the time of the buff. This way, once you corner your opponent all the way towards the right, you wait for them to use a special ability, and then right after that, now you're going to be unblockable. So you can do your combo, and then you can underhit, and then right after that, you could keep doing combos since the opponent won't be able to block you. And then by that point, your combo meter is going to be pretty high up, and now in this hypothetical scenario, if Enraged Bane is a little bit more buffed, and his special abilities do more damage, well then that's great, because now you don't have to tag him out to tag in another damage dealer. You can just keep using Enraged Bane, and Enraged Bane will be able to use a special ability right after the entire string and do a good amount of damage. Now of course this would actually be pretty OP, so what you would need to do is you would either need to make it so that his buff or his passive only activates maybe every other special ability that he gets hit, or make his health really low. That way you limit the amount of times that he can do this. I don't know, that's just an idea that I had. The only reason why I'm mentioning this and how to fix Bane's passive is only because, again, I actually do like Bane's passive. I like the idea of it. It's just that the way it's executed and the way that Enraged Bane was kind of made as a character isn't really that good, and that's why he's coming in at number 2. Now, coming in at number 1 is going to be a character that I call the knockoff Bane. Now, of course, you don't want to knock off a character that's already pretty bad, because that just makes you worse, but that's exactly what Sonic Black Canary is. So, if we go over to her passives, just like every other character that I've mentioned on this list, she only has one passive, and it's called Sonic Attack. So, at level 5, it gives you 100% chance to disable the opponent's block for 4 seconds after performing Special 1. So here's why I call this a knockoff version of Bane. First of all, it does the exact same thing in the sense that you either become unblockable or the opponent loses their block, whatever. You're pretty much going to be doing the same thing, assuming that both characters are tagged in at the same time. I'll bring this up in 1 second, but this is a really big deal. But first, I want to focus on the fact that this time with Sonic Black Canary, not with Enraged Bane, you actually need to spend power to activate this passive. You need to activate your special 1. Now, okay, that's not too bad because passive 1 doesn't really cost that much. But then after that, you're basically rolling the dice that the opponent isn't going to be tagging out. Because guess what? If the opponent tags out, the next opponent isn't going to have their block disabled, which is kind of a big deal because that kind of defeats the entire purpose of the passive. Whereas with Enraged Bane, the actual passive goes to yourself. With Sonic Black Canary, it goes to the one character that you're fighting. And if you're in arena, you know, there's 3 different characters that you're fighting. So either one of them can tag in and tag out whenever they want. So no matter what viewpoint you want to look at this passive from, it's just not good. It's not reliable. If maybe it moved over to the next character that the opponent tags into, I guess it would kind of be decent, but even then, you really need to extend the time that this lasts. I mean, I was talking about Enraged Bane lasting only for 6 seconds, and I thought that was pretty terrible. With Sonic Black Canary, her passive only works for 4 seconds, which literally gives you no time to pretty much do anything at all. So yeah, Like I said, she's a knockoff character of Bane, and that just makes her an even worse character, and I think she definitely has the worst passive in Injustice 2 Mobile. Anyways guys, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Stay safe and stay clean, and I'll see you guys later. Oh, and for those of you guys wondering why I haven't been streaming or uploading as much lately, it's really just because I've been working on my room. We installed new floor, we painted it, we just did a lot of stuff to my room, and so I just wanted to finish that project, get it over with, so I could just go back to streaming and doing YouTube like I normally do. But then unfortunately, right after I finished working on my room, for whatever reason, the Wi-Fi stopped working. And so I called and told the company that, you know, I needed help with the Wi-Fi, and they're going to send a technician in 2 days. So hopefully by then I can get the streaming back up and everything will go back to normal.